Corey, this question is for you. And Corey, correct me if I'm wrong. Years ago, we always asked to order a survey of the home's property, right?
That's correct. And usually that stemmed from a lending requirement. And this, it probably changed in the late 90s, but it used to be, historically speaking, the lenders would require a mortgage survey to be done in order to get the loan approved. So we would see those very regularly.
Yeah. So Maddie sent us an email. By the way, folks, you can send an email to me for us to broadcast on the radio. Bob at WeSellLouisville.com, and then put radio question in the subject line and put the actual question in the body of the email. That's the preferred way. Maddie wants to know about surveys, and in the email she wrote us, she says she wants to buy a home, but she's wondering if the property survey is required by most lenders. I know you answered that in part, but what is going on these days with lenders and surveys?
Sure, happy to help with that. So, lenders do not require surveys anymore for residential property. And that's because they have coverage in their lender's title insurance policy. So, it's not because they don't think it's important, it's because they have coverage. It's less risk because of the type of title insurance that they're receiving. They're getting some protection for that. So, I just want to stress that because I do think surveys are so important for a number of different reasons. And oftentimes they can be overlooked in the process of buying a home because it's just another expense. And, that cost can range for a survey. I'm certainly not a surveyor myself, but depending on where the property is located, how large it is, for residential, it can generally be, upwards of $500, $600 or more. And so a lot of people don't want to incur that additional cost if it's quote unquote optional. But the reason why I love surveys so much, first and foremost, to know your boundary lines. That is so important. You need to know where your property ends and begins. And by the way, it's not just the lawn mowing patterns or the fence that's on the property. Those could have been erected erroneously. So, knowing where your property ends and begins, and that way you can be able to use your property to its fullest, but also exclude others if they're using your property. You'll know that and you'll be able to have those protections. Secondly, I want to notate that during the course of a real estate transaction, it's incredibly important for buyers to have a survey because if there are encroachments, like I mentioned the example of maybe the neighbor encroaching on the property, whether they have a flower bed on your property lines or a fence or a driveway, whatever the case may be, there's lots of different fact patterns there. But it's an opportunity for you to negotiate that before it becomes your problem, for a lack of a better word. Because once you close on it and once you own it, it's yours. Whereas if you're in the course of a real estate transactions, there's opportunities for you to engage with your agent to say, hey, to negotiate with the seller. There's several ways we can cure those types of issues, but you're in a great position because you're getting ready to buy it and seller wants to sell to be able to get some assistance to work through any of those unpleasant findings in a survey.
Good. All right, Maddie, hopefully that answers your question. A reminder, if you're thinking of selling your home, now or in the near future, we've got a free no obligation booklet that has hundreds of useful tips. If you want a copy, send an email to bob@WeSellLouisville.com and put selling tips in the subject line. I'll send that out to you. And I will also send you, courtesy of Home Team Inspection, a free inspection service. So basically, it's a report on what to expect when you have an inspection. It's a handy, useful piece of reading, and you can get that by sending Bob at WeSellLouisville.com an email and send a word inspection in the email.